Respect should be given when referring to the strongest orc alive. Meanwhile, let's go out of the village and explore some of the areas near its remote forests. A place where a gigantic tree has come to life and is now angrily shrieking and attacking with all its might. This woody guy is known as Impasse, a guardian of the forest, a treant lord. Now he's manipulating roots below the ground for an attack. His target was a group of worn-out human adventurers. Their lineup looks pretty balanced and common. A swordsman leader, a mage, an axe wielder, and a big guy with a big knife. But no matter how balanced, the party was still tossed in the air helplessly. They are at the mercy of the treant lord's roots. They were blown away quite high up in the air. They had enough time to think about their poor decisions in life. The swordsman leader looks like he has some grit and determination in his eyes, though. He managed to take control of his falling body and find a suitable position to land without injuries to regain footing. His whole squad is now barred and blown away from the position of their targeted monster. All of them are silver adventurers being led by the swordsman named Red. He wants their mage, Faye, to give him a boost to go up and try to strike the treant lord with all his remaining strength. But Faye is completely out of gas. She had run out a little while ago. It's hard for her to even just stand right now. Strum has grown frustrated. They've been battling the tree for almost a day, without reaching its core. It just keeps on regenerating. Big Guy Scar was losing hope as he did not want to die yet. He still wants to eat his mom's hot pot when they return home. Leader Red has quite a foul mouth when he gets riled up, but he will do his damn best to make sure that this will not be the end of their little party. For a moment, it seemed like they were about to be wiped by the treant lord's wide swing, but a glistening light appeared and a sharp sound echoed throughout the whole forest. The boundless life and vitality in the eyes of the moving tree were unexpectedly extinguished completely. The once dangerous monster has become nothing more than a pile of logs in front of the silver-ranked adventurer party. And it seems like there's just one person responsible for making that happen. A silhouette of a man standing on top of a fearsome monster's corpse. This person holding a dark card was known as Spade, a platinum adventurer. He just came by to say hi to the party of weaklings. Just one look and everyone in the party instantly recognized who the guy that saved them was. It was the infamous Spade after all. Spade just looked down at them and asserted that this zone was not for the weak. He then casually leapt out of everyone's sight. The guy did not even bother with the treant lord's loot. He left it for the party to salvage before they went home. Faye tried to stop Spade for a second to at least show her gratitude, but it was useless. Red knew that they just got lucky this time. They were bailed out by Spade, who usually works alone. That guy does not care whether they are grateful or not. He doesn't even want to be acquainted with anyone. One day later, we can follow the party for a little bit more. They've recovered enough strength to journey more, but Red found it best to head home already. Big Guy Scar is getting homesick after what happened with the monstrous tree. At least they're going home with some decent woody loot. Faye is reassuring the guilty Scar not to worry as they needed to replenish some supplies anyway. Also, they can now craft the logs and loot from the treant. As they were walking through the dense forest, Strum called everyone's attention to stop in their tracks as he just spotted something. The party huddled up and cautiously looked toward where Strum was pointing at. It was a bloody, beaten, and unconscious body of someone we know all too well. Vice Captain Easel Wright was lying face first on the dirt. Red and the whole party immediately knew that what they were looking at was a real demon. The silver-ranked adventurer party stood frozen and terrified, not knowing what to do after seeing a genuine demon lying down just a few feet from them. Easel Wright had sustained some extremely nasty and serious injuries after getting beaten up by a raging Chief Garrick. Red had to stop everyone to assess the situation first. They were looking at a body with blue skin and no ears. There's only one race that has both. There's no doubt about it. It really was a demon just lying there, face down. The scaredy cat big man of the party wondered if the demon's still alive, but they can't know that for sure. Regardless, they have a duty to finish it off completely while it's defenseless. They must get rid of this demon once and for all before it destroys more villages, or worse, attacks the party directly. So, the group mustered up every ounce of bravery they could take out and slowly but surely went up to the demon with their weapons drawn. Things were going just fine until they heard and saw a man wielding a particularly familiar weapon from afar, a playing card. Red was the first one to feel that something was wrong. His senses are not bad for a silver adventurer. Suddenly, dark energy started coalescing from above. This dark energy was blatantly targeting the party. Red was the first one to sense the oddness of the situation, and he was the first one to react accordingly. He utilized his longsword and executed an impressive blade fury, creating a whirlwind that intercepted the countless incoming dark cards. It was at this moment that the rest of the group finally caught up to what was happening and how dire the situation was. Red managed to slice and dice a lot of cards, but a lot of cards had also sliced and diced his flesh in return. Faye noticed the bloodied dark cards and immediately knew that there's only one person with this type of combat style nearby. Spade appeared out of nowhere with a serious expression claiming the demon belonged to him. He had already summoned 4 massive dark magic heartsuit cards right above the party of 4. As the clueless silver-ranked noobs were freaking out, the gigantic cards started zooming down to the ground with incredible velocity. These dark cards produced a loud bang as they collided with the surface. Each one limited the movement of the noob party. Spade clapped his hands with a flourish to finish the execution of the technique. His cards had turned into an unbreakable prison. He calls it heart imprisonment. The noob party of 4 was now trapped inside a cramped cage with no light, and the only thing they could see were the hearts. All of them had fallen completely at the mercy of Spade, and Red could not be any more frustrated. He shouted from the dark box, asking Spade what the hell is that mysterious guy doing and why was he helping a filthy demon. Spade did not care for whatever the noobs were yapping about inside his imprisonment. His decisions were none of their business. Just the other day, this platinum-ranked adventurer graciously bailed the party out of a precarious situation, and now that same guy has trapped them. Also, that demon that Spade just saved now might just destroy everyone one day. Spade ignored their whining and explained that his heart imprisonment would eventually discard in 30 minutes, so the noobs could just stay put for half an hour. Red had heard rumors about Spade, but he refused to believe that this guy really was as twisted as the rumor says. That ticked off Spade a little, but he could not be bothered to exchange any more lines with weaklings. Besides, they know nothing about him. His goals are beyond their understanding. He then went his own way while carrying the vice captain of the Greed Demon army. Alright, let's go back to our beloved Boobies village. Today, everyone is gathered underneath a massive tree for a ceremony. Elder Gurin and Chief Garrick stood side by side to inform everyone that they have come to terms that Ran, the dark elf of the Redstone Forest, Kingdom of Elves, is an ally to the orcs. Ran is getting frustrated that no one in this village can get his name right at all, though. Chief Garrick bellowed with his loud voice that they must welcome Ran like he's one of them. The simple-minded orc villagers, including our boy Gull, no matter how injured they are, cheered with hype as they celebrated the dark elf. The chief continued that Ran would not be staying here for long. As soon as the elf has completely recovered from his wound, he'll be setting out to continue the mission. Everyone must treat Ran with respect while he's here. That should be all for today's meeting, and everyone dispersed as soon as the chief called for dismissal. After everyone had left, Elder Gurin did not let the chance to roast the chief go by. Chief Garrick had been trying to act cool while his full belly was sticking out, after all. The chief tried to return the insult, but he can't really roast the old man's appearance, for the elder is in tip-top condition for his age. For Lozen, this type of banter is already an everyday thing. She's done with those 2 boys and their immaturity. Ran can only sympathize. Ghoul is back in his lively mood now that the old talks are over. Even with bandages all over his body, it's time for the mighty Ghoul to conquer the mighty mountains once again. He has recovered enough to regain his speed and dash through a downward slope without a care for the world and all the complicated old man problems of the village. Several hours later, we found ourselves in front of the Bork restaurant. The chief is already looking forward to Chef Garam's special dinner. As always, he's hoping for ramen topped with wyvern eggs. Ran wants some Caesar salad, and the elder is a firm believer in meat. Ghoul just ran past them with no warning. The kid had no manners and freaked out elder. He almost got dragon chopped to oblivion. Ghoul was making a mad dash like a maniac and targeting the restaurant because he was incredibly thirsty from all the running. He's done today. Instead of a cold beverage to quench his thirst, what greeted him was a flying kitchen knife. Luckily for Ghoul, he has some lightning-quick reaction time to dodge the knife. The chief and elder almost got hit too. It's just a restaurant, but this place is keeping them on their toes. The angry butcher orc lady was evidently pissed off after seeing Ghoul. She's been looking for the little rat for days now. She's furious that the kid has not fulfilled his quest to bring back wyvern eggs for the guest yet. He went out to play and run instead. Ran is getting a first-hand look at an orc's savagery. Ghoul was tasked with serving the food, a dish filled with meat, while he still has the injuries from his stupid auntie's beating. This kid holds no respect for the chief and the elder at all. He freely calls them geezers, but he's cool with Ran the Dark Elf. On this VIP table, Elder Gurin opened the conversation of sending someone to accompany Ran to the Elf Kingdom and bring back one of their people. Ghoul overheard this very juicy mission, and his eyes twinkled with an immaculate sense of adventure. The chief agreed that they must bring back their best blacksmith. Ran confirmed that there was an orc blacksmith currently residing in the Elf Kingdom, and that blacksmith was one of the best in the world. Elder Gurin also wants to send a personal message to the one called Jess. Ran still can't get over the fact that this old orc can just address his Lord Jesharel Lithrander in such a casual and friendly manner. They really were old buddies. But the Dark Elf was also curious as to why they would want to call upon the greatest blacksmith. The chief explained that after the intruder incident, they unknowingly started a war with the demons. Just fighting two almost overwhelmed them. That's why they need someone to make adequate weapons to give the orc warriors a fighting chance. Demons are known to be vengeful beings. Now that they've killed one, a high-ranking one at that, those monsters will surely come back tenfold. For now, they must make haste and do all the proper precautions and preparations. This incredibly important conversation was being heard by the sneaky gull listening under the table. Ran is still feeling guilty about the scale of the problem that he essentially brought down upon this peaceful orc village. Elder Gurren has become wise with how long he's been in this world. He knew exactly what sort of thing was going through that elf's mind right now. So, he just shot a reassuring smile and reinforced what they've already talked about. He wants Ran to not think deeply about it. At the end of the day, the Eternum artifact that Ran is carrying would be catastrophic in the hands of the demon army. Elder reminded the young assassin to be vigilant, for this mission is not over until they reach the safety of the Elven Kingdom. Chief was there to break the gloomy mood. It's about time to eat their food before it gets cold after all. Elder Gurren immediately snapped. He thinks that the chief only thinks about food when Garrick was just trying to lighten up the mood. Now the important question in Elder Gurren's mind is who they send to this imperative mission. Gull excitedly slid out of the table after he heard the Elder thinking out loud, and took this as a chance to get some real adventure in his system. Most of their capable warriors are still recuperating. They will also need the manpower to rebuild the damage in the village as fast as possible. They simply can't afford to send Lozen. She's the only one with wits and a brain, so they need her here. The chief can't be trusted with matters that require intellect with his bird brain. The chief did not want to let that snide comment pass by. But Elder Gurren just kept on listing potential candidates for the mission. Oh boy, the messenger is a no-go, as that guy's too clumsy. To make the selection process a little easier, they just chose to ask Ran what company would suit him best. Meanwhile, Gull is doing his best while spying on the conversation. Ran took a bite of his leafy salad as he thought about what kind of partner he would need. By the time he finished chewing and swallowing the salad, he'd already come up with a profile. The dark elf is not used to having a companion. His primary profession is being an assassin after all. But if ever he will have one, Ran has some ideas. First of all, he will need someone who can read maps. Hearing that absolutely hyped up Gull. After hearing Ran's first criteria, Gull's mind was already overloaded with thoughts of adventure. The kid ran up to his auntie's butchering station to get his so-called Gulaman. Auntie immediately grabbed Gulaman, a sturdy leather bag of some sort. She then mustered an unnecessary amount of strength on her freaky arms to throw Gulaman towards Gull. The kid was not expecting the force behind that throw. It felt like he was tanking an attack from Dragon Ball Z to the face. That powerful moment coming from a simple leather bag carried his whole body to the edge of the restaurant, crashing through the furniture. Auntie did all that and roughed up her nephew just to remind Gull to mind his manners and say please when he needs something. After eating a direct hit that rivals a demon's force, Gull will surely include please in his vocabulary from now on. Gull immediately heads out as fast as he can. He surveyed the outskirts of the ruined Bubiz village as thoroughly as possible. After running all throughout the area, he enthusiastically brought out a paper in one hand and took out a pencil in the other. Gull then started working on drawing a very rough draft of a map of the surrounding area. He has memorized the location and elevations of the mountains that he conquered in the past. He made sure to sit near the VIP table while bragging about how to make a map on his own. He emphasized that he could draw and read maps because he is Gull. While he was trying to get the Elder and Chief's attention, the 3 junior hunter stooges came in for some chow. They noticed Gull and immediately invited their buddy to play before they went hunting. Mutu was quite adamant about doing their punishment to clear the rubble though. The other 2 just wanted to get some break from hauling debris and rebuilding the village. One of them saw Gull focused on map making and took it as a challenge for a drawing showdown. He turned to the devilish butcher and chef Auntie to get a pencil. It's probably not a good idea to disturb the fearsome lady while she's holding a knife and effortlessly hacking up meat. If you make a mistake and disturb her, you might get targeted with a bad-mannered kid hunting knife boomerang. She has a very good technique naming sense. The junior hunters immediately freaked out as they watched a blade come spinning near them. But Mutu the leader was built different. He stood on business. He just stood calmly and eventually caught the butcher's knife without much trouble. The other juniors were in awe of the chosen one. They were compelled to kneel before Mutu. All hail, Mutu. While the rowdy bunch of juniors was laughing their asses off and messing around, Ran continued that his partner needs to have a good sense of direction as well. It would be a huge plus. The brats took the butcher's knife and immediately started playing with it, even going as far as carving the restaurant tables. These kids know how to have fun with whatever they get their hands on. While Mutu is just sitting seriously as they only have a few minutes to rest before they need to go back to the rebuilding efforts. The angry auntie had just finished preparing the meal at another table when she noticed that the kids were messing up her precious furniture. She was mortified. She just gave those brats a weapon to hurt what she loved most. The junior hunters ran for their lives as a demonic orc lady chases them with murderous eyes. At the same time, Ran was thinking that he's going to need a companion that is fast. In the background, the true test of speed was happening. If they get caught by the scary auntie, they might just become the main dish for dinner tonight. Gul was keeping Ran's speed criteria in mind as they tried to run from a monster. To demonstrate a taste of his devilish speed, Gul kicked up his gear and left the slowpokes in his dust. So far, Gul has been perfect for every requirement that Ran needs for a companion in the coming grand adventure. The other three have already been caught while Gul was still going strong, and he doesn't seem winded at all. There's only one more thing that Ran needs. Gul really wants to go on this mission with the Dark Elf. He eagerly awaits the last criteria needed for the job. Right then and there, Ran just dropped a devastating bomb. He needs someone who's not loud. Gul fell to his knees in defeat. He cursed the heavens with a loud and guttural scream of disagreement. He's the polar opposite of not loud. Gul's defeat gave the scary auntie ample time to catch up and get her hands on her troublesome nephew. After a few days, a lot of the homes and businesses are still under construction, but most of the village is already in an operational state. Today is the day that the village is sending their elf visitor off. There will be a farewell gathering to pray for safe travel, as the elder is sending a mystery messenger alongside Ran. No one knew who's taking on the crucial job. The junior hunters were hurrying their asses off. They didn't want to miss the farewell ceremony after all. It looks like Ran has recovered incredibly fast in the past few days he spent resting in Boobiz. He can now don his full gear and his hidden blades with confidence once again. Ran met with Chief Garrick and Elder Gurin to express his genuine gratitude for taking care of him. Now he will return to the Redstone Forest, and the Elder can only pray that the spirits guide the mission smoothly. Chief Garrick was not going to let the old fart steal all the cool lines. He's still the chief after all. So, Chief Garrick flashed a confident smile and prayed that the spirits guide Ran back home safely. He just copied the geezer's prayer. The chief added that Ran will be welcome to come back to the village anytime, and the elf knew that those words are genuine, caring, and truthful. Before heading off, most of the villagers also had some final words and parting gifts for the Dark Elf. One particular orc lady came running in with a tied-up package of some sort. She's dashing with a wide smile, but she just can't pronounce Ran's full name properly. The package was a gift specifically for Ran. It's a present for a safe trip. In the past few days that Ran stayed here, he learned that orcs are savage and surprisingly heartwarming. He's never even felt so welcomed in the Elf Kingdom. Ran went through the bustling Boobiz market, and all the vendors there were giving him a warm farewell. He turned to the fish stall, and the vendor grabbed the biggest one and shoved it to Ran as a gift. The meat stall also packed up a lot of meat as a gift. Ran is a vegetarian, but the vendor insisted that he must eat like a man. Thankfully, the next along the way was a fruit stall. He was handed a cornucopia of fresh fruits that will certainly come in handy along the journey. Another vendor gave him a plethora of spices for a tasty adventure. Ran was starting to get overwhelmed. A farmer even gave him a farmer's hat on the way out. It could give some decent sun protection after all. Some jewelers even prepared some custom bling. Now it really was becoming too much for Ran. Another orc came up, a poultry farmer insisting that Ran brings a chicken as a souvenir. When he got to the village's gate, his hands were full of everything that the generous villagers gave him to help with the adventure. Elder Gurin and Chief Garrick quietly reflected on top of the cliff. The chief wonders if they made the right decision this time around. The elder firmly believes that they did. They just gave someone the opportunity to finally see his mom again. It has been 5 years since she went out to see the world. She was the pride of the orcs. The elder sees it as fate that she's in the Elf Kingdom right now. That lovable, bald, and shiny head has finally arrived at the village gate. Every villager, including the junior hunters, were waiting to see just who the elder sent for the crucial mission. It's the one and only Gul. He's got his backpack on and he's ready for the adventure of a lifetime. The elder knows that Gul must have missed his mom. Besides, no orc can move as fast as an assassin beside that kid. At first, the reaction of the majority was shock and the thought that this must be a joke. The higher-ups have chosen Gul as the chosen one, but some were genuinely happy for Gul. The farmer lady waved with a smile, and Mutu looked pretty hyped for his buddy. Now Gul is coming for his bra, Ran. It took him a while to get down here, so the elf waited for a while with his hands full. As the chief and elder were pondering quietly, Garrick wanted to ask the old man if he also sensed a different aura while they were fighting the demons. It was faint, but it was strong. Elder Gurin already knew what that anomaly was. It was none other than Gul. He saw how the kid's leg turned red for a moment when he knocked out the beefy demon's tooth. Back in the village gate, the first thing Gul noticed was Ran's new fancy farmer hat. Meanwhile, the elf just wanted to confirm if the letters were safe in Gul's bag. The little baldy bragged that he's been in the business of securing packages for 12 years now. He's been doing this since birth, so there's no need to worry about anything. As the two were about to head out, a mysterious red bag was thrown from downtown. Ghoul noticed and easily caught the red bag like the peak athletic specimen that he is. Among the lively crowd that came to wish them good luck was his always angry butcher auntie. The orc lady just shot Ghoul one final glance and went on to walk away while telling her nephew to come back in one piece. They may not see eye to eye a lot of the time, but Ghoul knew that his auntie was just looking out for him, and he's grateful for that. As for the matter of the mysterious aura from Ghoul's leg, the elder reckons that it must have been that thing the son of a gun accidentally drank. With Ran holding all the farewell gifts from the villagers, and Ghoul hauling their supplies and letters to deliver, the unlikely duo has finally set out for a mission that will change the course of world history. Only the elder and a few high-ranking orcs know something special about Ghoul. Even the kid himself may not know it yet, but he is a legendary blood orc. It all started with a mysterious liquid in an ornate flask. We'll rewind the clock a little bit. The incident happened 2 years ago. It was a peaceful and prosperous time for the orc village, Boobies. Ghoul was just a little rat, enjoying every single day without worries. That day, he was carrying 2 buckets full of water up a steep mountain. His eyes were set on his target, what he called the Rocky Bra, the ugliest, hardest, and rockiest mountain near the village. He believes that once he conquers the top, that peak shall be beautiful. Meanwhile, things have been going slow in Votar, Boobies' residential area. The 3 junior hunter stooges were just running errands while bored out of their minds. While they were working, Ghoul was stashing his buckets of water to drink later after his run. He took a running pose, trying to maximize his initial dash. Next came priming his legs for an explosive start. Ghoul cleared his mind, even though nothing really goes on there most of the time. His ugly face turned uglier as he started the mad dash. Ghoul might be stupid, but he goes after what he wants with sheer will and stamina. To get to his destination, he must first get down from the cliff. The run down this steep slope was dangerous, and he naturally spotted his first obstacle. He ran past the 3 stooges, letting them eat his nasty dust. Ghoul was so fast he just looked like a blur storming past them. Mutu caught sight of the little rat though. The stooges found this unfair. Ghoul gets to goof around while they do all the grunt work of carrying heavy feed bags. Mutu just let the matter go as they need to bring the fish food to the storage shed after feeding the elders fish. For these kids, the feeds they were carrying was really on the heavy side. They think that the elder probably feeds those ugly fishes with rocks using their iron teeth. As Ghoul arrives at the foot of the slope, another obstacle presented itself. It was the busy streets of Trog, Boobies' market area. All this hustle and bustle means nothing to Ghoul. He tried his best to avoid bumping into the busy people around the market. He slipped through the crowd as much as he could. He even had to jump through some inescapable situations a few times. But Ghoul was not giving up. He was going to pull through for the sake of his conquest. Back on the top of the slope, the stooges are about to give up with how heavy the feeds were. Thankfully, they managed to spot 2 pristine buckets of drinking water that Ghoul left up top. The troublesome brats did not hesitate to drink away their fatigue with Ghoul's stash. They knew full well that this must have been prepared for Ghoul. After drinking the water, the 2 even had the gall to pretend like they were good Samaritans, when in truth the brats just wanted to get rid of the remaining water that they didn't drink. They kicked Ghoul's precious reward down the dirt and laughed about it. The storehouse and pond were not far from that point on. The 3 stooges arrived. Mutu opened the secure door and Dobuk was tasked with holding the locks. While they were doing so, a pack of crows were eyeing their actions. These crows look like they are up to no good at all, I'll tell you that much. Back to Ghoul's very important run, he just got out of the marketplace and the next obstacle is already visible. Next up are the blades of the dark forest. If he gets hit by the woods, he will get cut. He named the forest quite literally, but even the possibility of wounds and cuts will not make Ghoul falter. He's not afraid of getting bloody. It looked grim and dangerous in his mind, but it really was just a regular-ass forest in reality. He closed his eyes and pretended that getting caught by the harmless stems and leaves would spell an unfortunate fate. He dove like his life depended on his every movement. He flipped and threw his body around with incredible athleticism and flexibility. When Ghoul opened his eyes, he couldn't help but celebrate his successful infiltration of the blade of the dark forest. At the same time, the 3 stooges are still completing their task up the slope. The next thing they need to do is tend to the precious fishes of Elder Gurren. These kids really do not want to feed those fishes. No matter how they look at the ugly fishes, those mofos just look smug. They just swim around and get fed while they chill. In addition to that, the way those fish look when they're about to get fed felt like royalty looking at peasants. But that doesn't matter. They just need to dump the feed and get out of here after all. The fishes feasted on the feeds that the 3 stooges painstakingly carried up the steep slope. In exchange, those fish looked approvingly like their servants just did a good job. It can really mess with your head, so one of the junior hunters has decided that while he's pissed off, he might as well piss on them too. Hearing that crude idea, the degenerate Dobuk was immediately on board as well. The two pissed on the elder's precious pond just for the hell of it. The fish were tortured under the torrential pee that came down that day. It truly was the worst way to go out. These brats felt like they were pillagers, burning the village of the unfortunate fishes with their urine. Mutu just sighed in resignation. He was done with those two at this point. While the three were distracted by their own agendas, the crows that were looming over the storehouse finally made their move. Meanwhile, Gul is about to finish his legendary run to the top. All that remained was the final boss. As Gul the Conqueror, the bald orc proclaimed that he shall defeat Rocky right then and there. Running is over, and it's about time to get started on scaling the Great Wall of Rocky. The winds that day were strong, but it wasn't nearly enough to deter Gul from achieving his mission. He poured time and sweat into this climb, and he screamed as loud as he could after reaching the top. Gul prepared and practiced for this legendary run, and he finally conquered the highest mountain near the village. He finally did it. Gul the Conqueror has added yet another victim to his non-stop conquest. After the celebration, his adrenaline plummeted down. In his imaginative mind, he was the wounded hero in need of his stashed water to replenish blood. Tired as he may be, Gul walked all the way back to the residential area Votar and scaled the steep slope. As he arrives at his chosen starting point, he witnessed the sabotage of his precious drinking water. His mind reeled and came to the conclusion that someone in this orc village must be a spy targeting him. But right now, he was just so thirsty that he just wanted to drink right from the urine-infested pond. Thankfully for him and for us, the kid has a very sharp sense of smell, and he sniffed the smell of pee on the water. Also, the dead fish were reason enough not to drink the tainted pond water. Just from looking at the scene, Gul already knew that his fellow junior hunters were behind this disgusting exhibition. He might have avoided falling for the nastiest and most stinky trick in the book, but that doesn't change the fact that he's extremely thirsty. To find some sort of relief, he walked into the wide-open storehouse that was supposed to be sealed shut. The inside of this place was a mess already. The pack of crows had a very grand feast with all the supplies inside. Gul doesn't care though. He just wanted to look for something to drink, anything at all. He managed to spot something that looked like grape juice at first glance. The bottle was really fancy too. At this point, any liquid will do. So he did not hesitate to chug that mysterious liquid without a second thought. After consuming almost the whole bottle, Gul felt like he was struck by something from the inside. The taste of that liquid was mind-numbingly disgusting. Gul threw the bottle on the floor even though he was dying of thirst. At that moment, Oboy the messenger arrived at the scene and saw all the mess in the storehouse. No matter how you look at it, Gul looked like a rat that had just ransacked the village's storage. Gul still hadn't alleviated his thirst at this point. He had no strength and brain power to defend himself. At the same time, the junior hunters had already walked down the slope when dumbass Dabuk noticed that he was carrying a piece of heavy junk at his side. It was at this moment that they realized that they forgot to lock the storage room's lock and that they needed to go back up as quickly as they could, but they might be running a little too late. Gul was already screaming in pain up top. Oboy caught him in a suspicious condition and immediately busted out the medieval fire torture device on the kid. The messenger believes that he caught Gul in the act of messing around in the storage room. Gul is taking the punishment when the ones that ate a ton of food and spoiled the leftovers were the crafty pack of crows. Oboy explained everything to the chief, elder, and Lozen. On top of the storage room debacle, he also believes that Gul pissed in the pond, killing the fishes. The storage room thing wasn't too bad, but hearing about the death of some fishes shook everyone to their core. Elder Gurren ran to his precious pond as if he was 100 years older. He held the corpses of his so-called poor little poopsies while crying his heart out with grief. Chief Garrick informed Lozen to prepare herself. This signals that things are about to get ugly. The old man sobbed over the piss-stained pond like he just lost an important family member. He got up to slowly and calmly look at the damages inside the storehouse. The one thing that stood out to him was the broken flask of a mysterious liquid that resembles grape juice. These bottle remnants could only contain one thing. It was the blood that the elder had been keeping. The demon's blood that he kept as a souvenir from the war 200 years ago. He was once again prompted into action, running out of the storehouse. His mind has shifted from grief to concern and the need to check on Gul. He can't let something demonic happen to an unfortunate child. Seeing the look of urgency on the old man's face, the chief misinterpreted it as a face of pure menace, or maybe the geezer was just ugly. Either way, he thought that crazy Gurren is about to kill Gul. Chief Garrick tackles the elder. In his mind, he's trying to protect the child. He forcefully slammed Gurren down to the ground. The two powerhouses wrestled on the ground for quite a while. Chief was trying to make a case to save Gul from the geezer's wrath. Lozen was done with all of this. Chief Garrick was also trying to save Gul, mainly because the kid is one of the wyvern egg gatherers. the key to making the delicious ramen of perfection. Old Man Gurren tried to clear up the misunderstanding that he just needed to check on Gul as a kid can't handle such tragedy. Just a few meters from all the chaos, the Three Stooges were hiding and watching as the consequences of their mistakes play out. Mutu felt pathetic. He thinks that Gul stood his ground, that the Baldy knew it was them, but he's taking the blame and facing it like a true orc. In reality, Gul was just as clueless about what's happening. He thinks that the messenger Boy was the one that set him up. The junior hunters waited for Mutu's decision regarding how they would proceed from here. Mutu decided that it's their fault that Gul is being punished, and that they must save their brother. Gul was sagging nearer and nearer to the terrifying flames below him, and he didn't want to die yet. On top of that, the heat was making him a lot thirstier as he sweats all the remaining water in his body. Until he thought about a brilliantly stupid idea. Sweat was water, so this could be what their teacher told them about give and take. He hurriedly tried to lick the sweat running down his face. The Three Stooges finally arrived on the scene to bail out Gul. For now, they must cut the ropes to get Gul out of here. Gul couldn't believe that these boys were here to save him. One will take the leg ropes and the other will take the hands. They chomped and chomped as if their lives depended on it. They bit and bit until the ropes were covered in spit. Gul was appalled that these fools were just salivating on him at this point. Finally, the sturdy ropes have snapped off after a very disgusting mode of escape. The brats didn't even think of catching Gul, so he plummeted down directly to the fire. Gul frantically rolled out of the flame as the boys tried to help him put out the fire. Their fire extinguishing method consisted of kicking Gul until the fire was out. Mutu called out to Boy to help them as Gul just wouldn't stop burning up. Now, Gul was not only burning, but he's also getting slapped all over his body and head too. The mischievous pack of crows were just observing the foolish orcs from the trees. No matter how hard they slapped the flames, it was not just going out. But even after finally extinguishing the flames, the fools continued with their crispy slaps till he turned red. Elder Gurren saw this and interpreted Gul's current reddish appearance as the transformation to a so-called blood orc, a legendary orc that can withstand the curse of the blood upon consumption. At this point, Gul's pain from the burns stopped and was replaced with the pain of being slapped. He finally had enough and screamed at everyone. He's burning, he's thirsting, and he's getting a slapping. Talk about torture. To deal with the situation at hand, he might as well drop his secret weapon, the fart to end all farts. A fart that was so powerful, it blew away every orc in the vicinity without mercy. The smell and impact of the fart even reached the tree nearby. On that tree were the playful pack of crows. The birds were not able to stomach the smell of toxic waste that Gul was holding in. And that is the story of how Gul mistakenly drank the blood that will change his life forever. Now let's come back to the present day. Gul and Ran have officially started their journey, and they have quite a long way to go from here on out. They are currently in the dense rock forest. Judging from the maps, it has a very fitting name. Booba's village really is in the midst of a secluded thick forest. Ran just lucked out while he was being chased by demons. Since Gul knows the woods, he can help Ran with the area. They can avoid any potential danger when they pool their knowledge. Gul was extremely confident with his memorization. He insisted that they didn't even need the map from this point. That's because there's a better map inside his allegedly smart head. He then ran up to a random direction, calling Ran to follow him. Since the kid sounds confident enough, Ran just played along. Gul exhibited his immaculate speed again. Ran was easily keeping up thanks to his assassin training, but Gul is just a normal young orc, and he's covering massive distances with a confident grin. On top of that, he's running this incredibly fast even while carrying a heavy backpack. There's definitely more to why this young orc can move so differently. The only thing that Ran doesn't like is that Baldy's as loud as an elephant. He also brought up this sentiment with Elder Gurren back then. Gul was the opposite of silence, but even the Elder swears upon Gul's mobility. Besides, the top assassin of the Elf Kingdom should be able to handle the bald orc. Ran can only sigh in defeat. At least Gul generously gave him a spare bag to carry the souvenirs from the villagers. But they somehow forgot about the chicken, and it was forced to fly and follow the speed freaks. Gul is the type of guy that will swear that he knows a shortcut. This time, it's through the village of Shroomen. He insisted that the mushrooms aren't harmful, so they'll be fine. Ran also thinks that they'll be fine as the Shroomen are quite adorable. The tiny village was quaint and peaceful. The Shroomen are just going about their business serenely. Then came Gul with his loudmouth, catching everyone's attention, telling everyone that they're just passing through. The Shroomen's mood immediately took a turn for the worse as soon as they saw Gul. They swiftly gathered up and marched full of anger. Gul was peddling peace, but the mushroom warriors were already clutching their weapons and surrounding the duo. Ran noticed that these little guys are not happy with their passage after all. He can only wonder if they did something to offend them. The shroom leader explained that Gul stole their mushroom babies, that he's a savage that has come back for more, a despicable being that must be brought down. Gul doesn't look like he's bothered being labeled as such, though. He just kept on insisting that he's in good terms with the shroomman when he's clearly not. The proof of that is the green arrow zooming through the air, aimed at him. Gul almost lost his precious pair of oranges right there and then. Things just got serious. Baldy even had the gall to get angry that the little guys are trying to hunt him down. It looks like the inevitable first obstacle in the duo's mission just presented itself, and it's shaped like a bunch of mushroom warriors. There are also shroommen that are adept in magic, utilizing earth grab to attempt to immobilize the duo. The piercing and slithering thorny plant root are heading for them at incredible speeds. Thankfully, the duo is quite elite when it comes to reaction times. Ran had no idea what's happening, but he was also being targeted by the little shroom warriors. To not make matters worse, he just gently repelled their continuous effort to attack with methodical redirections. An elite assassin can easily neutralize little warriors without shedding blood. But still, this situation's bad. The shroommen think that Gul has nefarious intentions, and Ran is now an accomplice. Without Ran noticing, Gul was already running for his life, ready to leave his partner behind without warning or waiting up. But at the end of that tunnel, Gul was fine, Ran was fine, everything should be fine. The elf is starting to doubt the orc though. Gul just kept on getting into unnecessary situations with his curiosity from that point on. For food, he hunted and butchered meat that is nothing but disgusting for the vegetarian Ran. Whenever Gul stores up meat for supplies, Ran must throw up in pure disgust. Along the way, they even met some foreign creatures on the road. Gul and his adventurous spirit would always want to interact, but some creatures are just hostile for no reason at all. So, Ran ends up getting swept by Gul's foolish actions. This time they're being chased by some ugly-looking, club-wielding tiny monsters. Their mobility and ability to respond to danger were also put to the test as they traversed the more dangerous parts of the woods. They managed to escape the reptilian horrors in the water. They went through the colorful yet eerie and alive trees in a bizarre part of the forest. Sometimes they know that speed alone won't save them, and they must resort to quietly hiding. At times, they witness something out of this world. Like a golden draconic creature with 3 fearsome heads flying in the sky. Gul finds these types of things awesome while Ran was deathly afraid of it. At night, the duo tries to find a discreet and comfortable place to set up camp to rest and eat. Gul was quite skilled at making fire, a skill that is extremely essential for a long trek like this one. Ran disagrees with this move though. He thinks that they need to lay low, especially at night as they can't afford to attract unnecessary trouble. Besides, he packed some elven bread to eat as it is way more convenient than cooking. Gul was quite curious about elf food, so he wanted to give those elven bread a bite. Ran handed him the bread, and Gul carefully chewed on the crunchy delicacy. It did not take Gul too long to spit that thing out with pure disgust. In his opinion, that bread doesn't even qualify as food at all. Ran argued that he eats those all the time. It's practical as just one bit will last you for a whole day. As the two were bickering about food, the forgotten chicken finally caught up to them. It was still miraculously alive. Though trying to catch up to the 2 speedsters was quite a monumental task, and the chicken collapsed right there and then. Ran immediately felt guilty that he forgot about the little guy. Gul just gave the chicken an approving laugh and a thumbs up for keeping up. The birdie almost died just trying to keep track of the 2 for the whole trip. Ran is a very compassionate guy, and he feels really bad for making the chicken chase them. Now, it's time for Gul to show off a little bit and amaze Ran with some real food as he takes out a coconut shell. He placed it right above the fire he just started and started rolling the shell so that the insides heat up evenly. As that one was done cooking, Gul stared menacingly at the tired chicken. It's now time for the main dish. Ran saw the chicken slowly walk up to him, and the elf became confused for a second. The freaking bird turned and looked him in the eye, did a perfect salute, and said goodbye to him in chicken language. Right after that, Gul grabbed the chicken by the neck, shocking Ran as he believes that the villagers gave this animal to him as a pet. Gul found that stupid though. He thinks chickens are not pets and they'll like it better when it's cooked. Ran asserted that orcs really were savages, while Gul was just trying to have KFC for dinner. The elf quickly realized that Gul would not let this matter go and presented a trade for some fish instead, just so the chicken would stay safe. Gul relented as he demanded the fish before he ended the chicken. The bird came up to Ran once again. It was celebrating as if recognizing that it's now indebted to Ran as its master. Chicken-san executed a perfect double salute, demonstrating its manly resolve to show respect. Meanwhile, Gul was still busy cooking his secret specialty inside the coconut shell. Finally, it was done. He broke the shell in half, and inside was a glistening and piping hot dish with a perfect blend of ingredients.